Hey there, you're listening to Not Another TV Podcast. This is episode 21, the week of October 6th, 2023. My name's Drew Koenig. With me, as always, my co-host, Mads Masassi. Mads, how we doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Good. My birthday was past week, which is another...
Trip around the sun. How's it feel?
Ever since I turned 30, it's just... Birthdays feel more like an existential crisis than an actual...
I feel that.
I'm just like, what am I doing? What's going on here?
Where's my life headed?
Well, particularly, like, someone told me, like, offhandedly once, of, like, depressed and, like, chronically suicidal people are like, how am I still here? What's going on? This wasn't supposed to be how this goes. And I'm just like, that's a little, you're a little too loud with that.
Yeah.
I need you to not say the quiet part out loud. But, like, that is more or less something like, oh, teenager Drew did not think it would last this long. The rental is supposed to be returned a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it's always weird.
Yeah.
Always, anyway, yeah. Because anymore, it's just like, oh, I'm an adult, and this is just a day. It is a day unlike any other day.
It's the same as it was yesterday, and it'll be the same tomorrow.
Yeah. Which is it? I think it's like exacerbated when like you don't live around like your family.
Mm-hmm.
These where people can't like force you to like get dinner with them and like make it feel like an actual distinct day.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, oh, I went home and I got a pizza. Like,
Yeah, I was that way last year. Like, I happened to have brunch with some friends, but it wasn't necessarily because it was my birthday. It was, we were like, oh, we haven't seen each other in a few months. Let's do brunch together. And it just happened to coincide with the weekend after my birthday. But, like, on my actual birthday, I was like, nobody did anything except my mom texted me happy birthday. You know what I mean? It's like, whatever.
right.
This year I'm going to be at my mom's, and so I know it's going to be this whole thing. She's going to be like, what do you want for dinner? And like, we should do something as a family, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, and it's kind of delayed now because like my mom and my sister are coming in tomorrow. We're gonna go.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to the zoo, and I guess I'm going to the zoo with them.
You're like, I guess I'm getting dragged along.
I guess I'm going to the zoo. They called me today, and they're like, hey, we're coming in tomorrow because we were already supposed to meet up on Saturday. And my mom's like, yeah, we're gonna go to the zoo tomorrow. I was like, it's kind of cold tomorrow, but okay. Like, it's supposed to be like 50 tomorrow. But we'll go to the zoo. So that'll be fun. This is what happens when you live like 5 minutes away from the zoo.
Yeah. I don't have that problem. I don't live near a zoo. There's the Philly. There's like there's one near Philly, but that's still like almost an hour away. And then the Bronx Zoo is probably the closest one, and it's still a ways away.
So we should do some news.
We should. Is there any news?
Well, we can start with the strike news this week, which is there's still not any strike news, pretty much.
Yeah.
WGA is going back to work. SAG-AFTRA is still meeting with the AMPTP and should be reconvening again on Monday. They met today on Friday and on Wednesday.
Yep.
Seems a pretty gradual negotiation process. But I haven't heard anything disparaging or negative yet.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to lead people to believe it's anything less than optimistic.
Yeah.
So on Monday, we should have a good idea of something, at the very least.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to what comes out next week regarding the strike because I feel like we're making headway. And I think this is kind of like where we were a few weeks ago with the writer's strike, where like they were
Right.
starting to have the conversations, and there's a lot of things that they're looking for. So it's not going to be a one and done conversation.
Right.
So I think, it seems like the fact that they're still meeting means work is happening.
Right. Yeah. So it's encouraging right now.
Mhm.
Otherwise, in non-strike related news, actually, I have something here. So you recall a few weeks ago, I was excited about the news of a trilogy of Warrior Nun movies coming out,
Sure,
and
yes.
yes, I was, I was excited, and I'm still somewhat excited. This week has prompted some tempering of those
Excitement.
particular fires. So there was news. There was word that there was going to be big news this week regarding Warrior Nun, which prompted a lot of people involved in making the series to say, "Oh, I'm not involved.
Oh,
I'm not
okay.
involved in the production of these movies." Big people such as Seven Barry, who created the show, and Amy Berg, and a bunch of other chimed in to say, "Yeah, we haven't heard anything at all. We don't know anything about what's going on."
Interesting.
And then the quote unquote big news happened, which was just that the creator of the comic that Warrior Nun is based on
Hmm.
was asking fans to send in artistic designs for a new Halo. Um, and the Halo is a very big part of the series, and the particular aesthetic and look of it is very big. And it all smells rotten.
Yeah.
It all feels dirty at the core. Like I feel like we've been doing this long enough to know that whenever anybody is asking for direct involvement from fans,
Yep.
nothing good is associated with that. And it's just it feels like exploitation of a fan base.
There's something rotten in the state of Denmark,
Yeah, yeah,
to quote Shakespeare.
yeah. So it all feels, yeah. I
Yeah.
don't feel good about this. Um, and a lot of people are concerned now that with a lot of the people not that did Warrior on the TV show not involved in these movies, and the comic creator being ostensibly involved somehow in this,
Hmm.
that we're gonna go away from like what the TV show was and go back to like what the comics were, which was more of an over sexualized, more misogynistic angle on like
Mm.
this material.
Yeah.
Um, because like the entire conceit of like Warrior Nun is like um, sexy nuns with guns,
Okay.
and the comic had a very it was created in the '90s by a straight man,
Yeah, of course.
and the TV show was like it was still sexy nuns with guns. I don't want to dissuade anyone from that, but it was more of like the female gaze interpretation of that idea,
Hmm.
with like what if sexy nuns with guns were lesbians? Like,
Yes.
and it was more like that general idea, and a lot of people being very nervous now about going back to that original idea of the characters.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot of reason for concern, I think. But beyond that, I don't think I have any other news.
I wouldn't say it's news necessarily, but this week the creator of Our Flag Means Death decided he was going to tell the internet where he was going to be on a certain time, at a certain time on a certain day, and he met with fans for like 2 hours. And I'm like, that's fine, I guess. But like, I always get nervous about those situations because it's like that parasocial relationship that
Right.
happens nowadays between groups of fans and the people behind the shows that these fans love. It, it's very nerve wracking for me to have those unsanctioned situations
Right.
because those could quickly devolve into chaos and cause the creator to be like, no, I'm never interacting with anybody ever again. Like,
Right.
but it seemed like a good time. A few of my friends were able to go, considering it was so last minute, and they had a good time. And it actually happened because he saw two of my friends did a TikTok underneath the big Times Square banner that said "Our flag means death." And he was like, "You know what? I'm gonna go there and meet up with people." And it was sweet and great for my friends. But I'm just like, that kind of stuff just makes me nervous. So that's where parasocial relationships are at these days.
Nice.
No, but he's a good guy. He's very wonderful for a white, assuming straight man.
Right.
I'm not gonna say anything because I don't know for sure, and I'm not the kind of person that'd look it up.
Oh, I didn't talk about this last week, but Dropout, because we talked about Dimension 20 on the show a lot. Dropout celebrated its 5th anniversary and dropped College Humor, which they spawned off of, which they still technically owned, I think. But I think they officially retired that in a very nice kind of wrap up video for College Humor. That Sam Reich and Brennan Lee Mulligan did. It also announced a bunch of new Dropout, for lack of a better word, content coming out. I don't love that word, but it's apropos.
Yeah, but I mean, for lack of a better term, that's what it is.
It is, yeah, it is what that is. But it feels disparaging to call Dropout TV stuff content because, like, I feel like it kind of exceeds the kind of, you know, bad taste in your mouth that word leaves.
I was gonna say content in a video stance tends to make you think those ridiculous millennial people that are doing it to make money and they're
Right.
going through their everyday life, and you're just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Which, yes, you're right. Dropout is way higher quality than that.
They also announced a bunch of new shows that are coming to Dropout, including some new Dimension 20 seasons, including Fantasy High Junior Year, which will be the 3rd season of that series.
I'm already obsessed, and
I'm so excited about. It's been 3 years, I think, since sophomore year came out.
Oh, nice.
And everyone's been kind of ravenous for like when the next when the next Fantasy High season would come out. And like there have been a couple of spin-off seasons in the Fantasy High world that have also come out on Dimension 20, but this is very exciting. And they're also doing a 2nd season of Dungeons and Drag Queens because of how strongly that was received, and I'm also very excited about that.
I definitely need to watch Dungeons and Drag Queens because I'm the kind of person that watches RuPaul and Dragula and, you know, stuff like that. So I'm like, that would definitely be my thing.
Yeah, Brennan does some excellent drag. The 20th season of Dimension 20 just started. I think just started this week with Brennan and Siobhan and Brennan's wife Izzy. So let's move on into the GOAT. So the GOAT is a weekly segment we do here on the podcast where myself and Mads will pick a best TV character or episode of all time and pit them against each other on Twitter and TikTok. Last week, I nominated The Good Place, Season 4, Episode 13, Whenever You're Ready. And Mads picked Our Flag Means Death, Season 1, Episode 8, We go
We
way
go way back.
I had to pull that. Um, and it actually resulted in a tie, which we have resolved off the air, and I got the victory for that one. Just scooted right on by with that. Since I won that one, Mads, you get to go first with your new pick.
All right. So this week I'm going to pick a character that I adore, but not too many people care about, because I tend to like characters that
Oh boy.
kind of hang out in the background or don't necessarily get the full character formation that they deserve. And for me, that character is Deputy Jordan Parrish from Teen Wolf. He's in the background all the time, and he ends up being a hellhound later seasons, because they're like, oh, we're gonna give him this really cool supernatural power and then never do anything with it. Except use it for bad things in the movie, but that's okay. But no, Parrish is just this one deputy in that entire sheriff station that manages to survive longer than a season. Which, if anyone who's seen Teen Wolf understands what I'm saying about this, because they were constantly going through deputies, and I'm like, I don't know how that sheriff station stayed functional, but it's beside the point. It's television. Don't look too closely. But Parrish is just, I don't know. It probably also helps that I really like Ryan Kelly as an actor. I think he's a funny guy. But Parrish is just a very sweet, naive person who doesn't know anything about the supernatural until he's thrown into it because his name shows up on a list, and he's just like, what? I'm worth $5 million? What are you talking about? And so, like, I don't know, he's just one of those characters that I always look for on the show in various episodes.
Yeah, that's that is certainly a pick of the many things that can be said.
He has his moments.
One thing you can't say is that was a pick.
Listen, I am throwing it to you, so you're probably gonna win. This is what happens when you check out for a whole week and forget that you have to think of a goat option. And so, what's the first thing that pops in your head? It's not always a good option.
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine pick, except for the fact that he is not a character.
He is a character. He just never got anything beyond being a hellhound. He's technically a character. He has a name, unlike some people in the background of this show.
So, with the return of Bob's Burgers this week, I had to nominate my favorite character, which will surprise no one, because if there's one thing that I will always gravitate to, it is an agent of chaos, which is Louise Belcher, voiced by Christian Shaw, who is just fucking exceptional. Like, I love her.
Episode especially.
I love her so much. Like, she is almost just like pure id. Like, she just does whatever she wants to do. But also, like, her emotional centers are some of the strongest the show has, and like, I deeply love her. Like, there is a plot line last season where she is very she greatly admires Amelia Earhart, and then discovers that Amelia Earhart probably crash landed on an island and was eaten by cannibals. Which leads her to go down both like very fun like moments of chaos, and also an ultimate existential crisis as trying to figure out like admirable, like inspiring female heroes to be inspired by. Like, and part of that has to go down to like Christian Shaw, who is just very good at finding that just like almost menace. Like, she's the kind of person that you can imagine becoming just like a sociopath in her later age. It's like, an absolute nuisance, a a menace to society. And actually an essential character to Bob's Burgers. To whenever there's too much, like, she is the character that you add in whenever you need like that, like, slab of dynamite, like the one that just goes, "I'm gonna fuck all this up. Fuck you, blow this up." I love Louise so much. She is the best.
Kristen Schaal is just a phenomenal actress. Like, she does all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the last like 3 years, I've seen her do What We Do in the Shadows, which that character's phenomenal. I've seen her in the Benedict Society, whatever. She played number 2, which was this woman that was basically a human personification of a pencil. Like, she just seemed like and she was in this random scene in Our Flag where she plays this like French aristocrat, and it's just like, it's hilarious how much she can just make us believe that she is all of these people.
No, like, she just has like hit after hit, from like Gravity Falls, Last Man on Earth, BoJack Horseman. Like, she's in some of like Adventure Time coming up. Like, just fucking nails it out. Like, kills it every time. Like, I've never seen Kristen Schaal in something and go, that didn't work for me. No, it's always great.
It's always great.
So that is my pick for this week. You can go vote for this on Twitter and TikTok, and you'll have 2 days to vote once it goes up. So let's move on into the rest of our show.
I won't be surprised if you win.
I won't be surprised.
I'm allowed one horrible pick for mental health reasons.
Yeah. No, I've seen a lot of like Louise like tribute videos on TikTok recently, so like those like Louise like best lines TikToks or something.
So. I mean, even in this week's episode, like, they start to give in to the mom's demands, and she's like, "No, curses, we can't do that." Like, she's just so chaotic. I love it. She's like, actually, no, you two older people, shut up, because I'm in charge here.
I'm in charge.
That's basically her energy. She's like, I'm the smartest one in the room.
Louise is like the cult leader that's like, I will kill everyone here before I let the cops take us. I will poison the punch before I ever admit defeat.
Marceline, is it just you and me in the wreckage of the world? That must be so confusing for a little girl. And I know you're going to need me here with you, but I'm losing myself and I'm afraid you're going to lose me too.
Oh yeah, keep it going.
This magic keeps me alive, but it's making me crazy. And I need
So our first show for this week is our continuing rewatch of Adventure Time with Season 4, Episode 20, You Made Me, Season 4, Episode 24, Reign of Gunters, and Season 4, Episode 25, I Remember You.
Mm-hmm.
So let's begin with You Made Me, which sees the return of
Lemongrab,
who we should always note is voiced by Justin Roiland, who is an enormous pest, sexually and socially.
Sexually and socially. I mean, you're not wrong. It just sounds funny saying it that way. Lemongrab's voice grates on my nerves. Like, I can't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this kind of continuing on our like Bubblegum, what are you doing? Frame of Bubblegum solution to Lemon Grab being a nuisance is I'll just create another Lemon Grab.
Yeah. And let them go off together, but then I'm like, now you have 2 lemon grabs.
Now you have 2 Lemon Grabs.
Stupid idiot.
I can't possibly imagine how this could go poorly.
It could never go wrong.
I mean, if 1 was a problem, 2's bound to be great. Which is literally, like, that's literally her thinking in this episode.
She's like, he just needs a friend. No. No.
Yeah.
Just no.
Well, like, and there are that moments in this episode where it's like, maybe Lemon Grab is a little bit right. Like, especially in, like, his conversation with Bubblegum, where Bubblegum's like, this is how you're supposed to treat, like, candy people. And he's like, who says that your way is the right way?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you were so convinced that you are, like, the one, like, she has extreme, like, main character syndrome. And it's like,
Yes.
you think that your way is the right way, but who says so? Like, who gave you this permission?
Yeah.
So, like, he's annoying, and he is absolutely a danger to himself and others.
Yeah.
But it's also, like, yeah, he's a little bit right. Like, like, you know, the episode title, you made me, and it, like, as he says, like, you are my glob. Like, you are the one that made me. You are the reason I am like this.
Right. And, like, yes, Lemon Grab is terrible. Like, he's just terrible. But, like, he had to come from somewhere, and he came from the imagination of Bubblegum, which begs to question, how good really is Bubblegum?
Right. Well, and especially, like, how good is she at making these people? Because, like, what we see at Bubblegum is she either makes people who are extremely stupid, like the banana guards, and crunchy, or she makes Lemon Grab. So it's like, what are you actually doing? Like, there's no doubt that she is good at, like, what she does. But what is this god complex you have?
Right. She is not entirely 100% without fault of doing anything untoward, and she acts like she would never. And it's like, honey, you created him.
You would.
She has the self-confidence of a white cis man.
Yeah. No, it's that TikTok audio of, like, oh, you think the government would never do that to you? The government would. And, like, that's Bubblegum.
Yeah.
Like, she plays the part of, like, you know, as, like, her name goes, like, the bubbly, like, teenage girl. But she would absolutely.
She manipulates situations like a pro.
Yeah.
She's like, oh no, you can trust me. I'm Bubblegum. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Bubblegum also gets stuck in places that make you a nuisance. So, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Well, and then we have Rana Gunters, which is just...
Oh my god. This episode was so obnoxiously ridiculous. I was like, okay, this is like peak Adventure Time. We're just going to go for it all. And by all, we mean a necklace that creates an army of Gunters that are trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
and all they want to do is break glass. Like, they could truly become dictators, and instead they're like, no, we want to take over so we can take all your glass and break it.
No, yeah, he just want to break bottles. That's it.
Just break bottles. That's fine.
Yeah, because Gunter is kind of like the Ice King's cat.
Yeah.
So he has like very like cat mannerisms where it's like the Ice King says at the end of the episode, like he gets really upset when I'm gone for too long.
Such cat behavior.
Or like he just wants to like knock things off a counter, and it's like, yeah, he's just a cat.
And then he gets mad when he runs out of bottles, and Bubblegum's solution was, let's sit down on the ground and put them back together piece by piece so he can break them again. And I'm like, that's going to take 5 million years, girlfriend.
Yeah,
and meanwhile, Finn is like, I have a better idea.
Yeah. Oh, and Finn has some like very like, oh, buddy, what you doing? Places in this episode of like his line about future farming. We called that a different thing when I was a teenager. But it's like, yeah, it's the same. Yeah, you have a girlfriend and you want to keep other people interested. Yeah, I had a friend who called it. He was an awful person. But you would call it having a bookmark. You're in one part of the book and the girl's in another part of the book. You just put a bookmark on that girl's page, and when you're done with the girl you're with right now, you just flip to the bookmark.
Yep.
Yep.
But also, I find it hilarious that Finn is reading this book, and then towards the end, the Ice King is reading the book.
Yeah. Well, no,
and it's like, you guys need to just not read this book. Like, this is not good ideas.
The thing that's even better is that there is a very popular fan theory that Jake wrote that book. That Jake wrote it under the non-de-plume JT Dog Zone.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised.
And like he just did it as like a joke.
Yeah, but then like he sees Finn reading and he's like, no, bro, no, no, these are not serious.
Yeah, no. And it is like, it's mildly like a good portrayal of like the ways that teenage boys get like sucked in by like, you know, like red pill ideology, or like kind of like Andrew Tate kind of figures of like, oh yeah, this sounds great. I don't know, my brain won't fully develop for like 10 more years, but yeah, that sounds great.
Right. Like, who wants to spend all their time with one girl who's going to talk your ear off and like talk about her feelings and be emotional? Nah, I just like to have fun and be gone.
Yeah. Well, and it's also the other part of that of like, yeah, I mean, you can be mysterious. Like, there's nothing wrong with being mysterious.
As long as you're not manipulating with your mysteriousness.
Like, mysteriousness is fine. Like, that's a fine character quality to have.
And Finn's like so confused by that. He's like, wait, but you said, and Jake's like, there are levels of mysterious. Like,
levels. I do love that side that Jake's just like, I just gotta let you be a teenager. I just gotta let you be a teenager. You're gonna figure this out.
You gotta make your own mistakes. I gotta let you do it.
I gotta let you do it.
But then what's the Ice King's excuse? No, I'm just kidding. He never grew out of his teenage phase.
Yeah. Which brings us into I Remember You, which if I had like a singular Adventure Time episode of like, oh, this episode hurt my feelings, this is that episode.
It broke my heart. Oh my gosh. I was not expecting it to go that hard. Like, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be an episode where Marceline kind of just placates the Ice King and then we move on.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
like,
Like it's
no, there was depth to it.
after it was like, hey, did you all know about the secret backstory of Marceline and the Ice King together? It's like, and it's one of those things of like, well, like, yeah, I probably should have predicted that because like there are three characters in the show who have been alive for a very long time: Bubblegum, Marceline, and the Ice King. And we already knew that Bubblegum and Marceline had known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't have been a surprise for us to go, oh, the Ice King and Marceline probably know each other.
Honestly, I didn't put two and two together because, like, in my brain, Marceline is in this little world and Ice King is in this little world, and like they don't converge, and I don't see them as ever having converged. So, like, to see that they had a history, I was just like, oh my God. Oh my God. Like, this is breaking my heart.
Yeah, and that Simon was like her surrogate father.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, crushing. Just absolutely devastating work.
When children's TV programming breaks your heart and makes
Yes.
you feel the emotions you don't want to feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that song, oh my God.
Yeah, just wrecks me every time.
Beautifully, beautifully written, but yeah, I'll sob my way through that. Thank you.
Mm. Yeah, and it's wonderfully like juxtaposed with like Jake and Finn outside watching and just going like, what am I watching right now?
Yeah. They're like, what the hell is happening here? But also, I love that Ice King's like, I'm just going to tear pages out of my diary, not look at them. I'm just going to tear them out and then take them over to Marceline's house. And this is my song. And it's like, what?
Right. Yeah.
But that is totally a non-writer's way of being like, I can write. And it's just like, no, that's not how that works.
Yeah.
But Marceline can write. So Marceline's like, let's see what we can pull from this.
Yeah. Well, and this episode kind of it more emphasizes something I talked about during Holly Dolly Secrets, which is the Ice King being this kind of metaphor for that family member you have who becomes more senile.
Yeah.
And eventually develops Alzheimer's. And like that's the thing that we see in this episode with Marceline, where she had to witness up close and personal like Simon's degradation into the Ice King.
Yeah. And like she goes into this moment with him where she's like, you don't remember this? And like you can tell her heart is breaking, seeing that like he doesn't even like looking at the picture, he still doesn't like remember it. And she's like, but I do, like, you know, and it's heart-wrenching, and it's very realistic to how mental you know, what is it, like Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that, like really destroy people you love.
Yeah. And the episode seems to imply that like the Ice King went so far down this road that like he kept seeking out Marceline. And that he might have been the reason, maybe along with Bubblegum, that like she was gone for so long. Because I think with it in like the canon of the show, she was gone for like 50 years or something like that.
It's also like that sense that people that are losing their mind still have creatures of comfort, so to speak, where they like do certain things without knowing why they're doing them. And that's kind of like what we get from the Ice King in this episode. Like he seeks out Marceline And like, he doesn't know why. He says, oh, well, she's a rock star. She knows how to write a song. And we're like, but why do you need to write a song? Like, it's, you know what I mean? It's like it seems very random, but then like she opens that door and explains in her way to the audience that, well, this is something they've been doing for years.
Yeah. Yeah,
anyway.
Just truly,
so well done.
Truly heartbreaking episode. And yeah, that song at the end of the episode is just one of the more perfect things that Adventure Time ever did.
Mm-hmm.
And it does kind of make like the end of Holly Jolly Secrets like a little bit more funny and more tragic at the same time. With the line of like everyone comes back around for Christmas. Oh, and Marceline's outside the window looking in.
Yeah.
Which is like, oh, that hits different.
Mm-hmm.
That hits different in the context. Yeah, like I think this is one of my more favorite Adventure Time episodes.
I think it's gonna go on my list of favorites as well.
Yes. So, next week's episodes. We're going to be talking about Season 4, Episode 26, The Lich. And we're going to be rounding out Season 4 and going into Season 5. And I just want to warn everyone that Season 5 will take approximately 5 billion years. Because there are 52 episodes in Season 5, which we're obviously going to be jumping around a lot, but...
Why wasn't it broken down into 2 more seasons?
That's an excellent question. Yeah. And Season 6 has 43 episodes. Yeah, and this
what happens with animated children's shows sometimes.
Right, and this was like Adventure Time at like the height of its power.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also going to be talking about Season 5, Episode 1, Finn the Human, and Episode 2, Jake the Dog.
From the theme song.
Yes.
Finn the Human and Jake the Dog.
Yeah, we get some very big answers next week.
Nice.
So
I'm ready.
Yeah, you need to prepare yourself for how weird this is going to get.
Good to know.
So our next show here is Dimension 20, Fantasy High, Season 1, Episode 3, After the Afterlife, which deals with the aftermath of Kristen and Gorgug dying in the fight and being revived by Principal Egg Fort. So start off, I really love the introduction here of like Kristen's afterlife, and her like
meeting Helio
misgivings of her current religious structure.
Yeah, she met Helio and she's like, I am not impressed. Why am I following this idiot? It's so funny to watch her have a slow religious meltdown throughout the entire episode.
Yeah. Just not a full deconstruction, but like putting in like the bricks.
Yeah.
Just laying some foundation for that.
And then Gorgug's in like some forest or whatever, and he's like, I don't know where I went. He goes, you were clearly in heaven? Does that mean I was in hell? Like, he was just like, he's having his own
He's having a
emotional crisis.
Yeah.
Gorgug is always having a crisis. That's what I love about Gorgug.
I love Zach rolls a great nat 1 for Gorgug in this episode, which like it kind of shows like the benefits of doing like doing like D&D as storytelling, where you can just have like a nat 1 and go, oh, we're just gonna do like a fun fun story thing now, where Gorgug asks the football coach if he is his dad.
And then later in the episode, Fig asks the motorcycle guy, I can't think of his name, she goes, wait, are you my dad? And one of the side characters is like, I feel like we keep having dad crisis. Like, keep asking about dads. and Fabian's like, is it Fabian that says, doesn't everyone have a dad issues? No. It was Fabian's like, I think it was Fabian. Fabian's like, does everybody have dad issues?
Oh. Yeah. So much fun.
I think my absolute favorite moment though is like in the series of moments where they're talking about each person getting picked up by their parent and their parent reacting to what happened. Adelaide's parents, the dad is like, I'm so disappointed that you got a detention. And she's like, that's what you're disappointed about? Not the fact that I killed somebody? She goes, I have a bent ladle with human remains on it. Like, you're not disappointed by that? I literally had to pause because I was laughing so hard. And of course, Brennan's voices are like impeccable.
Oh, so good. So good. No. One of the things I love about this episode is how it kind of really demonstrates the severe chaos of this group that they have assembled. Like at the beginning of the episode where they're trying to figure out what to do, and it's just madness. It's just a flurry of stuff.
Riz goes, you guys all have my card. Like, you could call me. Kristen's like, we should all hang out. Is anybody on socials? But like, this is like the epitome of like what happens if you put a group of misfits together that don't know how to properly socialize with people.
Right.
And you expect them to like maintain the friend group. Like,
right.
I forget who said it, but one of them was just like, aren't we just gonna be here again tomorrow? Like, just
yeah. Like, there's little things throughout this episode because like Dimension 20 is just so good at like shooting the shit sometimes. But like the moment of Riz meeting the AV club, and he's like, a day ago this would have been my shit.
And I loved how Gorgug was like, can I join the AV club? Again, Gorgug and Riz are my two favorites. Like, I just adore them so much.
Oh, yeah. And like the conversation they have with Penelope just and it just like devolving into like a cacophony of madness with like Riz throwing up in the backpack and guessing friend.
Can I throw this? Do an athletic check, and then he proceeds to roll a very bad athletic check, and so he just throws it towards Gorga.
And like that conversation has like an excellent excellent moment of like DM to player where Emily's like, I would like to cast friend on this liquor I have, and Brennan's like, that's 100% not the way that spell is used. I'm still gonna allow it because I think that you could do something funny.
Mm-hmm. And she did. She was like, that was not me. That was that creep way over there. Throw Gorgog under the bus.
It's so funny.
So good. It truly is a highlight of my day to watch Dimension 20.
Yes. Oh my god. Oh. So let's move on to our next show. Which is Over the Garden Wall. Season 1, Episode 5, Mad Love. Episode 6, Lullaby in Frogland. And Episode 7, The Ringing of the Bell. So here we see the the party kind of breaking apart.
Yeah.
It's really fun and interesting ways. So Mad Love, which I guess stars John Cleese, is such a weird little madcap episode of like a really rich man who just kept building his mansion and didn't realize that it was bumping up against another rich person's mansion.
And then he's going crazy as he does it.
Yeah.
I always love when shows do the crazy old rich dude trope, or like they center their show on it, looking at you, Scrooge McDuck. Like, I just love rich crazy guys. Like, it's just fun because you never know what you're gonna get. It's Chaos Monkey all the time. And so this 10 minutes was just like, what's gonna happen next?
Yeah, where you have like Greg and the horse, which is an all-time duo, where Greg is just fully committing to the bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is method acting all the way to the bank, baby. Like, alongside a kleptomaniac horse. So you have like that side of the episode, which is just like a lot of like high energy fun, and then you have like the actual like character development with Wirt and Beatrice.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of sets up how things will inevitably go wrong.
Yeah. I mean, we're starting to realize like what Beatrice is after, like what she's doing with these young boys.
Yeah.
Makes it sound really creepy. But no, going back to you like talking about Greg like method acting to save his life, and it's like you get a bit more of that in the next episode too, and it's like I love this kid.
Yeah. Well, I love that you discovered that like where he has like an actual interiority. Like he actually just wanted to impress a cute girl.
Yep.
And like learn an instrument, and I was like,
yeah, I kind of have a thing for a girl like that.
it's the ultimate like 14-year-old boy thing to say.
Yeah, it is. And Beatrice, like, you can tell that Beatrice is like, oh my God, really? Like, she's just like, she's like, all this because of a girl. Like, you can tell that's what her mentality is.
Yeah. And then you have like the next episode, Lullaby and Frogland, which is just like the slow like erosion of like Beatrice's determination.
Yeah, so like I was gonna say, like you also start to see her. You start to tell that she's very fond of these boys. Like she was on a mission. You know, when we first met her, she was on a mission. She had no patience for them. She didn't really want to interact and get involved in their shenanigans. Her point was, gotta get you to Adelaide. Well, now we're starting to see her kind of care about these boys and just be like, well, what are you really doing? Like, where am I going with you guys?
Right. Well, it was like something I heard once of like the different like philosophical views of like I think it's called solipsism versus like nihilism. Where like nihilism is like, I am the only person that I can prove exists, therefore I am the only person that actually exists. And solipsism is, I don't think that's what it's called, but it's like this realization you have when you're walking down the street and realizing that like everyone else has like this deep interiority in their life just as much as you have. And you kind of see her in like these two episodes having that realization from like nihilism to this other thing of like, oh, these boys have like an actual life. Like they have an actual
Stoicism?
What?
Is it stoicism?
Nah, it's not stoicism. I'm not gonna figure it out. It's okay. I'm less concerned with the name of the idea.
No, I know. I was just like, I think I know what you're talking about, and then I was like, no, I guess not. Anyways, but yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, and like her, you start to see like that severe like reluctance coming from her, where she's just like, maybe we could just stay on the frog boat, or not go on the frog boat, or literally do anything else.
And then she like runs off without them, and they still follow her. And
yeah.
She's like, damn it, no.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm trying to get you out of this now, guys. This mess that I created.
Yeah. Well, even like the deal that she made, like she didn't think was as bad as it was going to be. Like she just thought that they were going to like work for Adelaide a little bit.
Yeah.
Mild chores, like she did not intend like actual physical harm.
Yeah. She's like, wait, servants? That's not what we agreed on.
Yeah. Adelaide, also voiced by John Cleese.
The depth and vast breadth of his talents.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. I do enjoy how just kind of horrifying Adelaide is.
Oh no, she's terrifying.
When you actually meet her. Yeah.
I'm like, okay, anytime there's a crotchety old woman seems to be like confined to her bed, don't trust it. I don't like characters like that. Right. They freak me out.
Well, and that takes us into the ringing of the bell, which is kind of like the perfect subversion of that idea. where like the old woman is supposed to like in any other story is the ultimate villain. It's the thing that you are supposed to be looking out for. In fairness, she is very scary. Like she's very unsettling. But like but in the end, like the thing that is actually threatening, it goes to like what the old woman had been saying of the teenage girl needs to have like a tight lid. You know, like she needs to be in like full control. Otherwise she's a problem. But in like any other case, the things that the old woman is saying and doing are severe red flags, are huge red flags.
Right.
And here, like, they are, like, is the ultimate subversion.
Yeah, and you realize that, like, no, the real issue at stake here that we need to worry about is, again, the beast.
The beast. Oh, yeah, and the beast appearing to the woodsman.
And beckoning him, like, come on, just come
on. Yeah, that's terrifying. So scary. And it's just like the silhouette of the beast. Like, where like you still haven't necessarily seen the beast, but you know what it looks like, and what it looks like seems awful. Like, seems something unimaginable, like Lovecraftian, you know? That I continue to just not enjoy. Every time I see that thing, I'm just like, I don't. No, thank you.
No, not today.
Yeah. Yeah, and the woodsman just continuing to like pop out at the boys, being like, "You no, seriously, you have to get out of these woods."
Yeah.
No, for real, you have to get out of these woods.
Like, go away. Like, your life is in danger. And they're like, la 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 la, we won't listen to you.
Yeah. So next week we're gonna be rounding out this series.
Yep.
With episodes 8, 9, and 10.
Yes.
So let's continue on to our next show, which is Bob's Burgers, season 14, episode 1, Fight at the Not Okay Chorale.
I did not realize that Bob's Burgers was on season 14.
It is.
Having never seen this show before in my life.
Yes.
I was like, there's only a few seasons of this. And it's like, no, we're on season 14. And I'm like, what?
Oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, but Bob's Burgers continuing to have just all-time great episode titles.
And I liked that it, like, at one point when, he's telling the story, and so the story becomes an old Western, like, and the freaking horse. I'm like, what is with this horse? I know that's not the main point of the episode, but I'm like, what is the hell is this horse? Like, that thought was just going through my mind for most of the episode. Again, having seen none of this show before, but clearly it's a character like that the dad comes up with often because the kids the kids requested it. But like, I'm just like, what is this horse?
That I believe, based on my understanding of Bob's Burgers, is that is a creation of Tina, who is to put it mildly, a horny horse girl. That is most of Tina's character boiled down to 2 words.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I do love. I agree with you. I do love the way that the story morphs as the adults and the kids try to tell the story, and they're both trying to like gain dominance in the storytelling. And each one just like hijacking each other as they try to tell the story. Like it feels like whenever you were like in an English class or like a creative writing class, and you had like those take turns telling a story. And
yeah, start with one line and someone else says the next line, and like it's like a fun game of telephone.
Yeah, it just gets progressively more like neurotic as it goes along.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's funny that like in the beginning, what are the mom and dad's? Well, obviously it's Bob, but what's the mom's name? I can't remember. But like at the beginning, like they're very set on these kids doing chores.
Yes.
But by the end of the episode, they're like, you know what? I just want them to fucking go to bed.
I just want them to go to bed. I just want them to leave me alone now.
Like that is the epitome of parenthood. Like there's a lot of concessions being made on the side of parents all over the world because they're like, I just want my kid to stop crying. I just want my kid to stop screaming. I just want my kid to go to sleep. Like,
yeah.
They're like, you know what? Those goals that I had as a parent that I was going to have my child be these perfect children. I don't care as long as they just get out of my hair.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it's also like this weird imperatives that like one generation feels on behalf of like previous generations of like, you're not doing this right. In our day, this is how we would do it.
Yeah.
Ignoring the fact that like Louise is absolutely right. Like they do work in the restaurant all the time.
Right.
For free.
Perfect. One of my favorite scenes, I think, is the mom is standing there and she's like, I think it's time you go to bed. And Eugene and what's her name are like, oh yeah, I am tired. And Lois is like, no.
No, we're finishing this.
No, we're not going to bed yet.
Yeah. Oh, just such a fun episode. And a really great reintroduction to Bob's Burgers.
Mm-hmm.
But more on that next week. So let's move on to our next show. Found, season 1, episode 1, titled Pilot. And this is one of the only new fall shows of the season.
Mm-hmm.
It may in fact be the new show of the season. So what did you think of Found?
Honestly, I really liked it. I was nervous thinking about it because I love. I said this last week. I love Shanola, and I was excited to see her, get to basically head her own show. And so I went into it being like, this is going to be great. And but then like at the back of my head, I'm like, it's probably not. I'm just probably gonna be using my bias of loving this actress to say this show is fantastic and it'd be terrible, but it actually ended up being really good. It sets up all these different nuanced characters that you're like, okay, I'm curious to see how this team came to be together. And the one woman that's keeps looking for her son in the crowd, I forget her name, but that actress was on the show Lie to Me, which was also a show that talked about micro expressions and facial things. And I'm like, this woman's doing the same thing on this show that she did on the other show. And that's what happens when you're a TV fanatic. But no, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I didn't really see that twist coming at the end. I don't know about you, but like I was just like I honestly thought he was going to show up in the other girl's apartment. Like she was going to come in, lock all those doors, and then turn around and he was going to be there. Yeah. But I was not expecting what we got. He's terrifying.
Yeah. So I think this is overall a really good pilot. I think it has a lot of shaky like pilot dialogue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That I think is not so good, but it's I think essential, and like it's very much like a writer's room trying to figure out like character dialogue and like how these characters actually speak and operate, which I can forgive for the most part. But yeah, I agree with you. It's a particularly well done show so far. Mark Paul Gosselaar is very scary, in a very quiet way.
Yeah. I also like. I was a little nervous going into this because, you know, I'm like, oh, it's going to be a quote unquote cop show. Like, because these people are finding lost people. But like, I feel like it's speaking out against propaganda shows. Like, it's like, oh no, we're the people that are not the cops. And we're worried about the people that don't make the news. The people that are missing that no one else cares about because they're not white. And I was like, that's interesting. So like, it's definitely a perspective that I was not expecting, so to speak. But it has potential, and it also has potential to fall flat on its face after a couple episodes.
Right.
So I guess we'll have to just wait and see. But her using her previous kidnapper as a resource to like solve these cases is beautiful, and it's well established in a way that we don't see it coming. Like I said, like I thought he was going to show up in the younger girl's house. Like I literally thought he was going to show up and be like, "Oh, miss me?" Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like what typically happens, you know.
Yeah.
But no, the minute she like takes the tray and she goes and unlocks the door, I'm like, why is her door going into her house? Why is the door within her house locked? I'm like, what is going on?
Oh yeah. No, I figured that out about like 30 seconds before it happened. And I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I was like, wait, is he in her basement? Like, is she torturing him? Because like that would be, but no, I mean, in a way she is torturing him because she has him locked up. But like, It's just like, so unexpected. Mark Paul Gosselaar, I did not expect on my bingo card to be him terrifying the shit out of me this year.
Well, like if you were to ask me before this, one is playing a cop and one is playing a serial killer. We have Brett Dalton and Mark Paul Gosselaar. Who's playing who?
Mark Paul Gosselaar playing the cop. That's what I would have said. Yeah, I would have done reverse. I will say at the very beginning where what's his name, the cop is like, you're a pain in my ass, and like it's clear they have, you know, tension or a history. I like half expected the next scene to be them like having sex or something like that, because like I could totally see that. But then later in the episode she's like, we had that one mistake, and I'm like, oh, they have had sex, but it didn't lead anywhere. I'm like, I like those kind of little nods where it's like, we know that this is what you're expecting, so we'll give you a little bit of a crumb.
Right. Yes. But no, back to what you were saying about like the propaganda of this all. It's both. It feels to me both a response to the propaganda, and also having a lot of like scandal DNA, and also again a response to scandal.
Yeah.
As like in Scandal, the people who are represented are like the rich, the powerful, the influential, the people who need a kind of crisis PR firm. And here it is the people who literally cannot speak for themselves.
Yeah. Like in this episode, like the kid that hires them is literally a kid. He's 11 years old or 12 or something like that. And he's like, my sister's gone missing, and no one believes that she's missing. And it's like, oh, this kid that normally if he'd gone into the police station, they would have just been like, all right, kid, I'll call your parents, send you home. Like they're not going to listen to him. But, Gabby sat down with him and was like, all right, tell me what's going on. She's like, I believe you, and you find out slowly over time why she believes him. She's seen her own stuff.
Yeah.
And I like that the guy that's agoraphobic on her team has also had a past trauma, and like that's what motivates him to do this work. Like it's interesting to see that each of these characters have a reason for being on this team, for wanting to do this work, and it's all because of their own experiences. And it's like, okay, those are the best kind of people to have on a team like this.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's a solid start.
Yes. So let's jump to Quantum Leap, season 2, episode 1. This took too long.
It did.
Yes.
Granted, I said this off camera earlier, that I've never seen season 1. So I went into this and haven't not seen hardly anything from the original Quantum Leap. Like I know barely anything about Quantum Leap. Like I'm going in blind because Drew's like, I like this show, let's do this. I'm like, okay, fine. I regretted my decision about 2 minutes into this episode. I was like, I should have watched season 1 first. Because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. I've seen quite a bit of the original show, and I watched the first season.
Yeah.
And I think this is a decent like reintroduction into the series. Kind of separating Ben from the rest of the Quantum Leap group, and just letting him solve it for himself.
Okay.
In a kind of soft reboot kind of way. I said this to you last week or week before that like I got an email about the screeners for this that I was not allowed to watch. That came with like critics notes of things that we're not allowed to talk about. And one of them was like the fucking end of this episode, which is like it's been 3 years.
I can't imagine, like, anytime a storyline for a show that I watch does that kind of time jump where one character doesn't know how long it's been and they jump into a story with people they know, but they're like, these people are like, yo, it's been 5 years. Where have you been? Like, it's always interesting, but again, I feel like I can't really add much to the conversation, not really knowing context.
Right.
I like Ben. He's a nice character.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. I think it is a good episode to kind of demonstrate that like Ben can actually do this on his own. it is a benefit to have like Addison there with him, helping him with like the help of Iggy, but
Yeah.
he doesn't necessarily need it because he's a very smart guy. He
Yes.
generally has a good idea of what to do. So I think this is like a good.
That's always a good move to make with certain kind of characters that are always part of a group, like to separate them out every once in a while, just to be like, this character can do things on their own. They're not just who they are in the group.
Right. And also like having Melissa Roxburgh here from Manifest being like,
that's why she looked familiar.
Yeah, as the leader of the team, as their plane is crashing, it's a good it's a good parallel back to Manifest.
It's like, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, she's pretty good at this thing. Yeah. But this is a fun, this is a fun opener. It'll be fun. This season seems to be the one where like Ben starts to get some of his memories back and starts to figure out what's going on. And
yeah.
Next episode, I believe we get introduced to some of the new series regulars, including Eliza Taylor.
Oh. That'll be interesting.
If the episode credits are right. So that should be very fun. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, this episode was fun and I enjoyed myself. I just was very much trying to figure things out along with Ben. Because I was like, I don't really know what's going on. But sometimes it's okay to do that. Like, just jump in, just dive in.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
So our next episode this week is The Continental, Season 1, Episode 2, Loyalty to the Master. I just don't like this show. I'd love to like hedge myself a little bit here, but I just don't like this show. It's not working for me.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, I completely understand that. Like, I liked the character development I felt we were getting for Winston for episodes 1 and 2. I told you off camera I've seen episode 3 and it just does not happen for me. So like I know you're gonna be like, God, going through episode 3. But no, episode 2, like there were some moments in it that I was like, okay, this is interesting. I don't mind that there wasn't a lot of action because I understand they're trying to build up to like the major action points. But again, these episodes are too fucking long. Like you don't need each of them to be a 90-minute film in itself. Like they don't need to be a film. And if you were going to go that route, you should have just made a new trilogy instead of just trying to market it as a 3-part TV series because it's just too long. And the character development just isn't really there for some of the characters that they insist on continuing to have in the background. I'm really looking at KD, the detective. I'm like, she has no purpose. She serves no major purpose. Especially this episode. I'm like, what the hell is even going on? Like, I don't understand why we're spending so much time on her. Like, go away.
Yeah.
I do like Jean. I will say I absolutely love Jean. Jean is my favorite character from this whole trilogy. That's an actor that I love. I've seen him do a lot of things. But his just wit is a nice break from the monotony of everything else going on.
Right. I mean, there's that, but also
there's so
I had to kind of laugh in a show where I said last week, there are too many characters. And this episode responded by adding more characters.
I will say I do like Maisie as well. Because the Bowery King is one of my absolute favorite side characters from the John Wick universe. And so like to see his predecessor be the Bowery Queen, it's like, oh, fuck yes. Like, yes. Like I do like her. And I like that she's not entranced with Winston's charms. She's like, why would I help you? I don't know who the fuck you are and I don't care. Like she's like, no, I'm not gonna help you.
Right.
But we'll see at the beginning of the third episode, Winston in all of his cis white man glory says, oh, I've got Maisie on my side. And Miles goes, do you though? But yeah, we have too many characters, and I feel like if they had just stuck to having Winston, Sharon, because obviously you need to have those two core characters, Cormac, and then just kept it to Miles and Lou and Yen as the other characters, like that would have been perfectly fine. Like that is a solid number of characters. It's like what, 6 characters?
Yeah.
That's all we really need. We didn't need all these extra people clogging up the story all the time. Like occasionally seeing them would have been better than pushing Yen to be this side piece that just shows up every once in a while when like she's a fucking badass. Like let her be a badass.
Yeah. Well, especially like the beginning of this episode where you have like 2 major flashbacks and it's like I don't need this. This is not benefiting me in any way.
Right. It's not entirely pertinent to the story.
Right. Well, especially Yin of like, I already knew all this about her. Like,
right.
Whatever I did know was not important.
Well, and that's the other thing about this show. Again, I've watched episode 3 and it does it again in episode 3. They go back to 1955. They keep going back to 1955. And I'm like, I get it. You want to establish that Frankie and Winston were forced into this life against their will, like all these different things. But I'm like, you could do that with conversation and not have to do a flashback scene.
You've already established that.
Well, that too, but also like we don't need to keep building on that 1955 storyline. Like
right.
You can just have Winston make a throwaway comment about, oh, well, you know, blah, 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 blah. Like, and he does make a comment in episode 3 about his mother and like his mother's story, but like we also get the flashback scene with his mother. And I'm like, we don't need both. Right. We don't need both. And I enjoy the show a little better than you do. I don't hate it, but it definitely had so much potential.
Right. Well, there was a moment while I was watching this where I was like, why am I not just following Katie McGrath's character?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I not just having an entire show based around her? Has Katie McGrath not earned her rose at this point?
Yeah.
Like, what you doing? Wait, what's going on?
Yeah. And she's menacing. Like when she takes that mask off, you're like, holy shit. Like
yeah, no, I enjoyed the way that moment felt like a threat.
Yeah, oh, it was meant as a threat. Like you're like, okay, I felt that. Like, yes. I felt that. The other thing I want to comment on, and maybe I'm just like that person, but like there's the scene with Sharon and Thomas, the kid that plays music for Cormac's people, whatever. Again, I sort of understand once the show is completely done and told the whole story, I understand why Thomas was there, but it wasn't established well enough. I don't feel, but anyways, that whole scene with Sharon and Thomas, I'm like, are they lovers? Are they boyfriends? Because they seem like boyfriends.
You know what? The only way that could have been more explicitly gay is if they literally had sex on that rooftop.
I know. Because Thomas is like, come with me. I'm escaping. Come with me. And I'm like, that is so romantic.
There's no way to interpret that as not romantic. Like, there's just no way.
And then, of course, like, and I get that John Wick has a lot of death that happens that's completely unnecessary to the greater plot of the story. It's just they're like, again, gratuitous violence. But like the way that Thomas dies, I'm like, that was unnecessary. That was completely unnecessary.
Right. Well,
just let the little innocent boy run off to fucking Paris or wherever he was going. Like, he has no threat to you, Cormac. Like, he literally has no threat.
Well, like, I felt like the John Wick movies, while they had a lot of violence and death, it was never death just for the sake of death,
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was always a method to the madness,
Yeah, I guess so.
Like,
but this was definitely a move on the writer's part to be like, here, look how menacing and terrible and awful this person is. I'm like, we already know. He forced a guy to jump to his death in the first episode. We don't need another unnecessary, senseless act of violence. And like, it's established in the next episode that the reason he did it was because he felt like, or maybe it was the end of this episode, he felt like Thomas was taking away Sharon, but like, you're doing that on your own, bro. Like,
yeah.
Sharon's like, I don't want to die.
Yeah.
Sharon's like, I need the option that allows me to live. And to keep my father out of this, because that's the other thing, is that Cormac's like, I'll bring your father over, but he's going to work for me. And Sharon's like, nope, that's not happening.
That won't work for me.
But I feel like they missed the mark a bit on some of the writing and establishing of character connections. Like, I mentioned this in my review that like there's that moment where Winston goes to Sharon and says, I need you on my side. I need someone from the inside so that my plan goes well. And like, it automatically seems like Sharon doesn't trust Winston. He doesn't want to do anything to do with Winston. He's not willing to go up against Cormac. Like, and it's like, how are you going to establish by the end of this series that these two become thick as thieves and would kill or die for each other? Like, how are you going to establish that? Where are you going to establish that? And it's like, they don't do a good enough job, in my opinion, with the writing to establish that Sharon sees something in Winston that he can trust.
Right.
It doesn't happen. We see him trusting him in later parts of the series, but like, how did we get there?
Right. Yeah.
It's not established.
Yeah, and I often don't feel that.
Huh?
Yeah, and I often do not feel that at all.
Yeah. It's just, as a newer fan to John Wick, I have this expectation of where I want Winston to go and Sharon to go because I like them as characters in the John Wick universe. And right now, where they're at in episode 2, I'm like, there is no way you're going to get from point A to point B because they're 5,000 miles away from each other. Like, it's just, yeah. I don't know. Maybe the implication by the end is that, it's been about 30 years since this happened. Life has hardened him. Like, no, that's a cop-out.
Right. Well, and it does kind of go back to what you're saying of why not just make a movie?
Yeah.
Like, if you're not going to commit to doing a TV show, and like actually build out the character arc in the way that it feels like this needs to be, why did you make a TV show and not just a movie?
I don't understand the green light on this. Like, they should have just like combined these 3 episodes, cut out a lot of crap, and made it a movie.
Yeah. Well, like, if you're going to go to the effort of making a TV show, make an actual fucking TV show.
Right.
Like, make it 10 episodes. Like, what the fuck are we doing? Like, I don't understand Peacock as a entity on good days.
But yeah, it's just, Again, the twins are unnecessary. I will go through my list of unnecessary characters. The twins, both of the detectives.
Yeah.
Like a good chunk of, well, actually no, the whole Chinese mob people in the freaking Chinatown area of the dojo.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't care about that storyline. It's unnecessary. It's kind of there for like antagonism that doesn't need to happen. Like, it's whatever. Miles and Lou have grown on me, but again, there's just too much going on outside of the plan with Winston with them that we don't get to fully establish them as solid characters.
Right.
So it's just, yeah, the writing needed work.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Yeah, moving on. Let's move on to our next show, which is Star Trek Lower Decks, Season 4, Episode 6, Parts Ferengi's Heart Place.
This one was fun.
I had so much fun with this.
It was so sweet.
This brings back Ram and Lita from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Ram, where Ram ended up getting nominated for Grand Nagus. Yeah, it just shows the way that like Lower Decks is really good at making like these kind of deep cut Star Trek references.
Yes.
Like, oh, I enjoy it so much, and like bringing in Lita as like the what they call it, reasonable cop to Rom's dumb cop is very good.
Yes.
And both
but I just loved the Tendi Rutherford of it all.
Oh god.
It was just so fun, like, to have them be on this very ridiculous, like, dating type show, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, for lack of a better term, like, that's what it was.
Yeah. But also, I don't need them to ever actually date.
No, it was cute. It was, like, cute in its own way.
Yeah.
There are people on Twitter that were like, "Oh, I ship it," and I'm like, "No, I'm okay with it not."
I don't think I do,
this is like,
actually.
It's one of those situations of like two friends getting forced into something where they're like, "All right, we're just gonna fuck around and find out," but like not be serious about it at all. Like, that's literally what this was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do enjoy the Cerritos canonically being the horniest and least romantically committed ship in the entire Starfleet.
Yeah. and then we have Boimler just like discovering
just discovering TV.
Discovering television, and not even good television, trash television. Like, he's discovering trash television.
The show Cop Landlords. It's so good. It's such like peak like network television.
Yes.
I'm really putting on this emphasis of like, what are two institutions that really solidify capitalism in every way? Yeah, cops and landlords. Yeah.
Cops and landlords. Like, the way that Lower Decks makes fun of humanity is hilarious. Like, I love it.
Oh,
like,
yeah. That's so good.
And then there's Mariner, who just cannot get out of her own way.
She really can't. She can't stand it when she's not self-destructing.
Yeah. But she's realizing that, like, she's in a good situation. Like, she has a mentor that, like, believes in her, and she's slowly starting to realize that. And it's nice to see, but it's also great that she'll never get out of her own way, so it's great.
No, she'll never get, yeah.
Like, the duality of Mariner. Like, she's starting to realize that she has worth. Okay, now I need to fuck it up.
Right. And it's the perfect chaser to the shot of last week where as we said, like Mariner has to be like the straight man.
Yeah.
Of like she has to be the reasonable one, and here it's like, no, I'm going wild, I'm going buck crazy, guys.
I'm gonna get so insane that I'm going to end up in the final moments of the episode with a black eye, bruises all over my face, and my uniform destroyed.
Yeah.
Like, that is the visual of Mariner at the end of the episode. She's like, I have to be Mariner. I have to be free.
Right, and like she has like this pathological need to be something. Like she has to. Mm-hmm. It's like the inverse of like that John Mulaney joke of him meeting everyone on the street, pretending like and acting like he's running for the mayor of nothing. And this is like the exact opposite of that, where Mariner is like running for like ne'er-do-well of the year and has to constantly be that.
Yeah.
So like Mariner has no idea what she's doing. Is the ultimate thing of that. Like whatever she is doing, she has to be like a mess while doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So that's a lot of fun. Yeah, I love the way that Lower Decks deals with Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. It's always a fun time. Like, no matter how serious the episode is, it's still a fun time.
Yeah. Like, I saw somebody on Twitter say that Lower Decks is like a pig rolling around in the mud, encouraging you to, like, join it.
That is exactly what it is.
Or just, if you're not
Greg from Over the Garden Wall would fit in on Lower Decks.
Yes. So let's move on to our last show of the week, which is Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 8, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. And words cannot express the way that I hate that episode title.
It's terrible.
I just despise it. It made me so angry when I first saw it. Yeah. That I think it took me a full day to recover.
I had many thoughts about this episode, but what did you think of this episode overall?
My thoughts on this episode,
besides the title.
My thoughts on this episode are, what the fuck are we doing here, guys? What the fuck is happening?
I summon my summation of this show is, how can we waste the talents of Ray Stevenson?
And that's the main thing, because Ahsoka just forgot it had villains for a whole episode. For the whole last episode, just forgot about Shin and Baylan and
even Thrawn a bit. Like, I feel like Thrawn was an afterthought in this episode too.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Like, I said in my review about regarding Thrawn, how I wish that there had been some moment of Ahsoka and him facing off. Like, yes, he came over the intercom or whatever and spoke directly to her. That's bullshit. That's not what I anticipated happening. Like, I anticipated there being some kind of scuffle or whatever between them, and him potentially escaping, and getting away. Kind of like what happened with her and Baylan, when her and Baylan, faced off that first time. That would have been fine. I would have understood that. Like, I'd be like, okay, they're setting it up to have Thrawn continue being a threat. That is not what happened. He just ran away. Like, he's just like, whatever. Like, I'm like, are we supposed to believe this guy's a big bad villain? Like, this is not the Thrawn I know.
Yeah, like, here's the problem. Is that this is all fucking table setting. And you know what?
Mhm.
Preparing the way I describe this is it is like watching someone who's ordinarily very good at chess just spend like 5 minutes setting up pieces on a board.
Yeah.
And that's what this felt like. Except the problem is there's nothing inherently wrong with setting up for a new season. But I don't know what the next chapter of this story looks like. Are they doing a second season of Ahsoka? Are these people going to appear in season 4 of The Mandalorian? Is this all just setting up for the big crossover movie that Dave Filoni wants to make? I don't know. The last one is probably the most likely, though.
Yeah, it's just and again, someone commented on my review saying that, oh well, these open-ended quote unquote answers that, by the end of this episode are because they're setting it up probably for another season. I'm like, okay, there's leaving some threads open so that you can continue the story, and then there's not completing any of the threads. And that's exactly what happened. None of the threads were completed in a satisfactory manner. Like, okay, yes, Ezra got home, but Ahsoka and Sabine are just going to stick it out on this planet? Like, are they retiring? Are they just admiring that they're stuck there? What's going on with Balin? But we'll probably never find out unless they recast him. Like, it just, what? And then the whole scene with Shin at the top of the ledge with her lightsaber and looking down at the native, like, camp of natives. I'm like, what are we doing? A repeat of Anakin Skywalker in the Attack of the Clones? Like, what is going on here?
Oh no, I interpreted that as she is recruiting for an army.
Well, that too, but like, it just seemed very reminiscent to me of Anakin Skywalker going and just destroying that. I'm sure your reasoning is more likely. It's just okay, whatever. Yeah. And I know a lot of fans loved the final moment where they were like looking to the sky and shadow amongst the stars, and then they see the whatever of Anakin, and I'm like, that was cheesy as fuck.
That's fucking lame.
It was so obnoxious. I was like, they were thinking, oh, how can we use the hologram of Hayden Christensen again? Here we go.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't care for that at all.
I didn't either. I was like, that's dumb.
That's dumb. Yeah.
And I'm a very nostalgic person. Like, you know me. I'm very much okay with having Anakin Skywalker around, but I was just like, no, this is stupid.
No.
It just...
Yeah. Well, it's like, what was the point of any of this? Like...
I just spent 8 episodes hoping that something would happen, and then nothing happened.
Nothing ever happened on this show.
No.
And like...
They never really established a sense of urgency with any of it. Like, yeah, they kept saying, oh, well, Thrawn's a threat. And I'm like, but, like, why does it not feel like he's a threat?
Right. Well, and then, like, the main showdown of the episode is between Ahsoka and Morgan. And it's like, I don't care about that character.
Oh, the other thing I had issues with this episode. Okay, this is me probably being an obnoxious Star Wars fan, but okay. Sabine, this whole season, has been struggling to get the Force on her side and to get the Force to work with her. And she finally manages to get her saber to come to her, and she's able to, like, knock out that trooper, whatever. Okay, then all of a sudden, she has the strength with the Force to throw Ezra onto the ship that's escaping. That doesn't make any sense.
I just, you know what? La la la, magic rules, la la la, I don't care. Whatever, you do your magic thing, Star Wars.
But it's, again, it goes back to that whole, okay, they'll come up with an answer that's going to be the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah, like, who cares? Whatever. Star Wars has always operated under nonsense magic rules, so.
Oh no, it really is, but it was just, even that was such a stretch for me. I was like, I'm willing to overlook a lot of shit, like Ahsoka talking to space whales. But like her suddenly having the strength to force throw an entire grown man hundreds and hundreds of feet, like no, that's not logical.
Yeah. At that point, I just did not care.
I know you did not care, but I was just like, she doesn't have the focus for that. She barely had focus enough for her lightsaber. How's she gonna throw a grown-ass man?
Look, we just did an entire... After that, by that point in the episode, we had done an entire poorly choreographed sequence with stormtrooper zombies.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the zombies.
So at that point, I was just like, you know what? Fuck it.
I forgot about the zombies. You're right. We did have zombies. They were like, we're just going to throw everything at the wall and everything's going to stick and we don't care.
Here's the question I've come back to. Ultimately, why was this not an animated show?
Yeah.
Like, in all seriousness, why was this not another animated show?
Yeah.
Why did we go to the effort of doing live action Filoni nonsense when we know that Filoni is perfectly capable of doing animation?
Yeah.
Is it just for coherence in Mandalorian? Because I'm gonna tell you, I don't like the Mandalorian nearly enough for that.
I haven't watched past season 2 of The Mandalorian. Yeah. I liked it. Good enough the first couple seasons, and now I'm just like, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, and I know people were excited. They're like, oh, we get to see everything live action. And I'm like, but does everything need to be live action? I don't know.
Yeah, no. It's just...
Listen, I hate saying negative things about Star Wars content and Star Wars properties because I'm like that big of a Star Wars nerd, but like this was not good. And like it disappoints me because Ahsoka is top 3 favorite Jedi characters of all time. Like, she's such a badass, but I'm like, this made her look like a chump. Like,
yeah.
When they actually remembered she's part of the show.
Yeah. Well, and it feels really bad because a year ago, I was talking about Andor.
Mm-hmm.
And how good I felt about Star Wars to come. And then this year we had The Mandalorian Season 3 and this season of Ahsoka. Oh.
Yeah, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor last year were so good. Like, in my opinion, they were really good. And it's like, okay, I'm going to give them a chance with Ahsoka. And I was just burned so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. And now we've just wasted Ray Winstone.
Yep. Yeah.
Like, we get to never see that character again.
Unless for some reason they recast it, which doesn't. I mean, I know that shows do that, but like it doesn't make that much sense.
Right. Well, and that's the only option. Like, they either have to recast it or Shin
drop it like they've already done.
Yeah, or Shin has to figure out that information and relay it in some way in the future. And none of those options are good.
Mm-mm.
Also, I wish we had gotten so much more Shin this episode.
Yeah.
Like, just
they forgot she existed. And it's such a disappointment. Such a disappointment. And then in the last 5 minutes, they're like, oh, right. We had 2 other people on this planet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, like, and I kept expecting her to like pop back up and like do something or really anything.
Yeah.
But apparently the show just decided that she left and then never went back to the Empire, which like is not a decision that makes sense for her character.
Yeah.
So just an utterly bizarre finale. And I have no idea what they're going to do next. Oh.
Well, so someone at Telltale, someone in Telltale is working on a feature that's about how Balin's skull has the potential to change the Star Wars universe. And I'm like, how?
How?
They haven't done anything with him. Oh, man. I'm not going to yuck anyone who loved the show because there are plenty of people that actually found it to be very great, but I personally did not see it.
No.
What a waste of 8 weeks of my life. Or was it 7? I think it was 7 because we got 2 episodes the first week. Whatever. Wasted time. I will say the added David Tennant as Yang was enjoyable. Unnecessary, but enjoyable.
Yep.
I will say Yang and Ezra interacting in this final episode was fun because, like, Ezra was questioning Yang's expertise, and I'm like, bro, he is way older than you and has been doing this shit longer than you. Like, just shut up. It was a nice, fun little moment, but, like, that does not save anything. Oh, man.
So, in a follow-up of our of a previous bit that we had, guess for me how many entries there are in the Shin/Sabine AO3 tag.
Oh, yeah. How many did I guess last time? Like 100?
100, yes.
There's probably, I'd say probably like 150.
You are close. It is 168.
Dang. It's 168 fics that I need to investigate whether I want to read them or not. I will never say that I will read everything within a fandom ship, because there are certain things that I'm just like, nope, I will not do that. I will not read a fic that is porn without plot, because I'm like, no, I'm good. Thanks anyway. I need plot to be around the sexual encounters. Thank you. I'm revealing myself. But then again, I'm an asexual person, so are we really that surprised?
Fair.
No. No. But that is interesting that there's 168. I love it. Because I ship it.
Yeah. I gotta say that I ship it too.
Like, I wanted there to be a post-credit scene of Sabine, like, just wandering the planet and running into Shin and just being like, oh, hey. Like, I don't know what they would say to each other, but I feel like they wouldn't fight each other, having no threat to their own lives. But, like, we're both on this planet. Let's go for a walk, shall we? Long walks on the beach? Well, how about long walks in the desert? That's basically what this planet is.
Yep.
Anyways, I could write a fic. Maybe I should. Maybe I will. Okay. No, as much as I love writing fan fiction, I will never dive into certain fandoms, because there are certain elements that I'm just like, oh, I would fuck that up so bad. And Star Wars is one of them. Yeah. Like, I know it is just space wizards, but I can't. When I was knee deep in Harry Potter, I still couldn't write Harry Potter fanfic, because I'm like, magic just intimidates me. I'm like, if I could write an AU where they're humans that have no mystical powers, yeah, of course, I'll do it. You cannot get me to write Jedi, but I will read it. I will read the shit out of Star Wars fanfiction. I don't even really ship it, but I've read a few Anakin and Obi-Wan ones. I don't ship it though, but like I was just like, I'm curious.
Right.
They weren't half bad. Anyways.
So that's our episode for this week. Next week, we are going to be talking about Our Flag Means Death Season 2 and Loki Season 2, along with The Fall of the House of Usher. So stay tuned for that. Until next week, Mads, where can we follow you online?
You can find me at DorothyNYC89. Not sure why I use that voice. Anyways, you can find me at DorothyNYC89 on pretty much all socials: TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky. But you're not really going to find me on Blue Sky that much just because I keep forgetting I have it. But yeah, those are the usual places.
Nice. And you can follow me on Twitter at the Drew Koenig and on Blue Sky at Drew Koenig. And also find me at my Substack where I'm doing newsletters throughout the week with a variety of stuff. At drewkoenig.substack.com. And you can follow podcasts on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Blue Sky at Not Another TV Podcasts. And you can email us at notanothertvpodcast@gmail.com with any thoughts, comments, questions, listener submissions, goat recommendations, show suggestions that you have going forward into what is rest of this year and going into the next. You can find previous episodes of the podcast on Apple and YouTube and whatever other podcasting devices that you have. Be sure to leave a review and subscribe, and be sure to share us on all your socials. Until next week, please remember, don't go in the ocean. It's not your business. Don't even go to the aquarium. Goodbye.
Goodbye.